Oh, yeah. You're right to applaud. It's time. Hello, everyone. Welcome to This Is My Brave. Give yourselves a round of applause for coming out tonight. Lovely to see you all. My name is Christian Finnegan, and I am just helping get this party rolling. I just want to, a quick couple of housekeeping things. We all know the deal, right? Turn your cell phones off. Don't be that guy. If your cell phone's on, turn it off. No flash photography, please. Any sort of brawling, please take that out to the lobby. It is wonderful to be here. Of course, This Is My Brave is a wonderful charity, wonderful event that we're here to help these people. And I want to commend you guys on your bravery for coming out in the middle of Hurricane Joaquin. I don't know how you mustered the courage. It's very, very impressive. I definitely felt a stiff breeze coming in here today. And I actually kind of like those nights, like Friday, where it's like raining really hard and the wind is gusting around, because every once in a while you'll just see like a crumpled corpse of an umbrella on the sidewalk. You know what I mean? Like a mangled, twisted heap of metal. The next time you see one of those, take a moment of respectful silence, because every busted umbrella you see represents a truly shit moment in someone's life. That is a terrible day that person was in the middle of. Because that's not like a casual event, like, hey guys, look, my umbrella turned inside out. Again. I'll just place this here and go about my day. Tra-la-la. It's not how it goes down. It's usually somebody like, fuck it, this ends now. I can't even get to a garbage can, forget it. There's a trash can roughly every 40 yards in New York City. So when you see an umbrella on the sidewalk, that is someone who just said, no mas. It's never on your way home. It's always on your to somewhere, like a job interview or a dinner party, and one spoke of the umbrella breaks and you're holding it up with one hand. I am not a religious person, but if there is a hell, I believe it is walking through New York City in a rainstorm for eternity, carrying a $4 Dwayne Reed umbrella. Forever and ever in Excelsis Deo. Amen. I've lived in New York for 24 years, which is a long time. People say, how can anyone live in New York City for 24 years? It's so stressful. And they're right. You have to maintain a certain attitude to survive in New York. My philosophy is sometimes you just got to stop and smell the whatever that smell is. My wife and I am married. There it is. Sorry, fellas. People wonder about me. I give off a certain high school drama teacher vibe. And scene. We live out in Queens. I don't want to brag, but we do. For people who are visiting New York City, New York City is comprised of 5 boroughs. Of course, there's Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Hoboken. Those would be the 5 for people who don't. It's not true. It's not true. Staten Island is the 5th. Perfectly fine place. Staten Island gets a bad rap. Is anybody here from Staten Island? One sad, lonely woo. Do you hear how anemic that sounded? It's because you get exhausted journeying from Staten Island. Staten Island is a perfectly nice place. It's just not in New York City. Look at a map. You have to take a ship to get there. New York and New Jersey need to execute a trade. Staten Island for Hoboken. Hoboken is more part of the fabric of New York. Hoboken is for people who are like, I really want to live in New York City, but I also love Coldplay, so I need to live someplace where I can wear pleated khakis and nobody gives me shit about it. That's what Hoboken is for. I myself am 42 years old, which is okay, I suppose. What does that mean? It means I'm not elderly, but I am decaying. Technically, I am in a state of decay. I don't want to bum anybody out, but if you're over 40, you have crested physically. It's not going to get any better. There's nothing positive in my future from a physical standpoint. It's not like, man, wait till I'm 50, I'm going to be jacked. No. From here on in, it's this or worse. That's the way it is. About slowing the rate of decay at this point. You know when you pull a tomato out of your refrigerator, because 2 weeks ago you were feeling optimistic at the grocery store? Everybody has that experience? Am I the only one who does that? Every few months I'll be shopping, picking up my usual flavor-blasted goldfish crackers and Diet Dr. Pepper. And I'll have this weird wave of optimism sweep over me like, I should start making salads at home. I could change my life today. I'm gonna eat healthy from this day forward. And I go through the produce aisle and start throwing stuff in there, tomatoes, cucumbers. Ooh, an orange pepper. Twice as expensive as the green, must be twice as good. Better grab 7 of those. Maybe pick up some kale. I read an article about it in the Delta In-Flight magazine. Apparently, it's not just shitty lettuce. I never feel so smug and proud of myself as when I am pushing a cart full of produce up to the register at the supermarket. You're right, lady. That is a lot of salad I'm going to be making in there. You people in line are going to be waiting for a while. She's got to weigh all this shit. No scanning for this kid. Got to punch in codes with me, lady. What is the code for artichokes? I don't know. Look it up in your little spinny wheel. And I go home and I take all $83 worth of vegetables and drop them in the bottom drawer of my fridge and forget about them. Until 15 days later, it's midnight and I'm 3/4 drunk, staring into the fridge looking for answers. You know those nights where it's not even about hunger? You're just like, okay, fridge, give me something. Give me something. What do you got for me, fridge? Make it all better. What if I got really close to the fridge and shut the door behind me? Does that feel like a hug? Is that a hug? It's so cold, just like Daddy. You know what I mean? When you're just like scanning the fridge, you don't even know what you're looking for. It's like, all right, nothing there, nothing here, nothing down here. What the hell is this? Oh, that's salad. That was that day I was going to change my life. Do you remember that? God, I was so high that day. But you know what I mean? Sometimes you'll take a tomato out of your refrigerator and it's smaller than when you bought it. Like it's not rotten, but it's been in there for a while, so it's like a little shriveled. And you have to ask yourself, can I eat this without it making me sick? Ladies, that is the exact phase that this body is in. Oh, you can't eat me, but it has to be today. Anybody? Any takers? Fellas, I'm not picky. My point is, this comes off. It does not come off. I've tried. It will not come off. Oh, I want to come off. Ugh. I am trying to take care of myself. I do go to the gymnasium. I don't like it. I'm not one of those weirdos who enjoys physical fitness. I used to go to a personal trainer, and the dude was just too intense for me. Like, he would get in my face, like, come on, man, bring it, bring it. It's like, dude, I don't even think I have it. Let me just look around. I'll just bring whatever I find. How about you bring it, and I borrow it for like an hour. 10 minutes later, he told me to get some. Come on, man, get some. Why did I need to bring it if there was some here? That makes 0 sense. The big news in my household lately, and this is something that's happening as we speak, and so I don't really have polished material about it, so I'm going to apologize ahead of time. My wife's mother, and I call her my wife's mother because I feel like mother-in-law feels very corny and cliche, and quite frankly, I don't really know the lady. But until recently, I'd only met her like 5 times, but last Tuesday, she moved into our apartment. Yes, the 68-year-old mother of my wife has moved into our 4th floor Queens walk-up apartment. And but it's not all bad. On the upside, she did bring 2 14-year-old dogs with her. So this is what is going on in my life right now. I spent all of last week yelling at a piece of IKEA furniture that I was putting together for a bed for her. And at least now she does have a place to sleep. Up until then, she was sleeping in my wife's bed, my bed with my wife, which is kind of Freudian and weird. But she would sleep in the bed with my wife while I would sleep on the couch until 4 a.m. when she would wake me up, because that's when she gets up, because she's a psycho elderly person. And she would tap me on the shoulder, and then I would move into my bedroom and try to fall back asleep in my bed while smelling an old woman on my pillow. That is what is going on in my life right now. And I tell you this primarily because the police may interview you at some point. And I want to get my side of the story out there before the murder occurs. And when I say the murder, the person being murdered will be me, and I will also be the murderer. I will be not killing myself, I will murder myself. That is what's going to happen because I cannot believe I have allowed this to happen. And the murder weapon will probably be my mother-in-law's brassiere, which is hanging on the back of the bathroom door. That is where my life is. Eventually, we're going to ship her off upstate. A couple years ago, my wife is sick in New York City, and she wants to leave, and I can't because I have a thriving comedy career. Don't laugh at that. But we bought a little, we took all of our savings, we compromised, we bought a little cabin up in the Catskills, a little Unabomber shack that we go up to, which is lovely. If you've never been to the Catskills, it's beautiful. And my wife loves it because it reminds her of her childhood. She grew up in the woods in Texas. I grew up in the suburbs. I moved to New York when I was a teenager. So to me, the deep woods has always meant one thing and only one thing: murder. Trees equal murder to me. If you lived in New York too long, I don't like trees that aren't in order. I like tree, 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 tree. I don't like this tree, 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 tree nonsense. Nothing positive can come from that. When the realtor was showing us houses, she was like, hey guys, look, this house has crawl space. I'm like, oh, that's where the bodies go. That's where you keep your rotting human flesh. I've gotten better, gotten used to it, but my friends who are city people, they won't visit because they're always scared. Like, well, what do you guys do when you're in the woods? Like, well, we have a fire pit and we look at the stars. It's nice. My friend's like, dude, that is the first scene in every horror movie. That's how they start. There's the couple, and they're in the woods, and they're in love, and then the murder shows up. I say, first of all, my wife and I are not that in love. Let's bring it down. It's been 11 years. Let's be realistic. More importantly, I am not scared because I am 42. She is 44. We are way too old to be murdered by in a horror movie. Do you know what I mean? We have been aged out of danger. Neither of us is sexy enough at this point to be targeted by a psychopath. Do me a favor. Raise your hand if you're a woman under 28. Women under 28. Okay, dead, 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 dead. Don't go to the woods. You won't survive. You'll be in your bra and panties like, Kevin. You'll be dead. The only thing you have in your favor is if you're a brunette, maybe you'll survive. Sometimes brunettes find a way to squeak through. Blondes always die. Blonde women and black dudes cannot survive in the woods. I've seen the movies too many times. It just doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. Especially not together. No. They'll be murdered by a black woman. That's how that goes. 42-year-old white dude, totally safe. You will never see a horror movie about a dude who kills people in their 40s. Be the worst movie of all time. Just some guy with a bloody axe creeping through the woods, and he looks in a window, and he sees my wife and I arguing over our Netflix queue. We were on Breaking Bad season 3, not season 4. You were supposed to wait for me to watch that. This is why we don't have sex anymore. And the murderer would be like, I'm gonna leave you guys alone. Seem like you're already torturing each other. What do you guys think? Are we ready to get this show crack-a-lackin'? Yeah? Yes? Oh, well, one clap from you, sir. One clap. Give me one. Right there, sir. Give me one. There it is. All right, I got it. Give me two. Awesome. We have such a great show lined up for you, and we are going to start it off with a little music, and I would like to introduce our first two performers. And I would love to stand here and tell you that I have their names memorized, but I am not professional. So it is my discernible pleasure to introduce to you Ms. Joella Baltonado and Laura Casertano. Please give them a round of applause. Let's get going. Thank you.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast and be the backlash of somebody's lack of love. Or you can start speaking up. Nothing's gonna hurt you the way the words do, and they settle beneath your skin. Kept on the inside and no sunlight, sometimes the shadow wins. But I wonder what would happen if you say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave with what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave. Just want to see you. I just want to see you. I just want to see you. I want to see you be brave. Just want to see you. I just want to see you. I just want to see you. I want to see you be brave. Everybody's been there. Everybody's been stared down by the enemy. Falling for the fear and bunch of disappearing. Bow down to the mighty. Don't run and stop holding your tongue. Maybe there's a way out of the cage where you live. Maybe one of these days you can let the light in. Show me how big your brave is. Say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave with what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave. And since your history of silence won't do you any good, did you think it would? Let your words be anything but empty. Why don't you tell them the truth? Say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave with what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave. Just want to see you. I just want to see you. I just want to see you. See you be brave. Just want to see you. I just want to see you. I just want to see you. See you be brave. Just want to see you. I just want to see you. Just want to see you. See you be brave. Just want to see you. Yeah. Just want to see you. I just want to see you. See you be brave.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lorne Jaffe, and I'm the producer of This Is My Brave, New York City. Welcome. First, I'd like to thank Juella Baltadano and Laura Casatano, both Hunter College graduates, for their gorgeous rendition of Sarah Bareilles' Brave, which is becoming an apt tradition for each This Is My Brave show. And of course, to Christian Finnegan for his wonderful set. Please give them all a round of applause. I do have one announcement before we move forward. Unfortunately, Elizabeth Swados was unable to participate due to a scheduling clash, but she so wanted to be here. The stage has always been home to a certain type of magic and storytelling, but not usually the type of storytelling that saves lives, and definitely not the type of magic you'll experience this afternoon. The stories you'll hear today will make you laugh, cry, empathize, understand, continue the conversation, and maybe even inspire you to tell your own story. That is the goal of This Is My Brave. The show exists to help eradicate the deep-seated stigmas created by society about mental illness through comedy, song, poetry, essay, and monologue. And the cast that my production team and I have assembled are going to blow you away with their talent, with their personal battles, and with their bravery. Brave has always been a tough word for me. and it's definitely one I never thought would be applied to myself. I've battled depression and anxiety for a long time and wound up bottling things up to a point where it all exploded, leaving me unable to work and on disability. Since then, I've become a stay-at-home dad, an isolating position regardless of gender that can literally cause depression and exacerbate it in those that already have it. So I turned to blogging, and I shared my story, and somehow I was chosen in February 2014 as a blog spotlight reader at a fatherhood conference. I wrote about my depression and garnered a standing ovation that shocked the hell out of me. But even more surprising was how people kept coming to me and calling me brave. I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I fought the label just as much as I fight the stigma of mental illness. But a year and a half later, 2 months after I said yes, when Jennifer Marshall, the co-founder and executive director of This Is My Brave, Jen, could you please stand up? When Jen asked if I'd be interested in producing a show in New York after I'd written about the organization for a site called Dads for Change, I sat in a casting room and watched people walk in, some shaking, some needing familial strength on the other side of the door. I watched them bare their souls and give us lucky members of the production team every vulnerable fiber, and I got it. This was true bravery. And if they were brave, then so am I. So I want to thank Jen and her co-founder, Anne-Marie Ames, who couldn't be here today, for entrusting us with this show and for allowing us to find the marvelous cast sitting behind me. I'm proud to be the first male producer in the history of This Is My Brave, and I urge more men with mental illness to stop hiding behind the stigma of being vulnerable and admitting that you're mentally ill isn't masculine. That's so far from the truth. I want to thank my associate producer, Rachel Godfrey, who will do the closing remarks, and the rest of our team, Eric Godfrey, Peggy Samedi, and Kristen McCarthy-Parker. I want to thank my parents, my wife, my friends, my therapist, and my fellow stay-at-home dads and dad bloggers for giving us so much love and support. And I'm preemptively thanking my 3.5-year-old daughter, who's here for not making too much noise. But most of all, I want to thank our cast for being willing to get up on this stage and tell their stories, for creating the This Is My Brave New York City community, which is now part of the entire This Is My Brave community, which is part of the mental health advocacy community. You see, community is how we're going to end this stigma. Remember in Silver Linings Playbook when Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence sit around laughing about what meds each of them have been on? Well, that's an important source of therapy because they both realize they're not alone. And all of us at This Is My Brave New York City have listened to each other and realized that we're not alone. We're a community, and the way to end the stigmas about mental illness is through sharing stories, real stories, by talking about the ups and downs, by showing the world we're not weak, we're not dangerous, and by inviting those without mental illness into the conversation, because Lord knows this country needs more serious discussion about mental health issues. A week here, a month there, it's just not enough. And by showing up here this afternoon, you're part of our community as well. And we'd like you to go nuts on social media so we can expand and educate. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever else the kids are using these days. Hashtags are storytelling saves lives and be brave. So let's make this community of people with and without mental illness as big as the American population. Hell, let's aim for the world. And we'll do it all through storytelling, because truly, storytelling saves lives. And now it's time to start the magic. Claudia Martinez is a vegetarian and an animal lover who is a mental illness survivor. Her love of writing and storytelling became her saving grace shortly after symptoms of depression and PTSD began at the age of 12. She continues to share her story in the hopes of either helping other survivors embrace their own bravery or to help others understand the realities of mental illness. Claudia is going to be reading her essay, My Life on Paper.
My life on paper is pretty great. I have this wonderful design career, run a successful organizing business, live in a great apartment close to the city, and get to cuddle with the 3 cutest felines ever. I have my health, my humor, and I'm surrounded by love. Loved by my family, my friends, and my beloved. Congenial, career-driven, crazy cat lady never looks so good on paper. The thing with paper, though, is that inevitably it will disintegrate, especially when the foundation of your fabulous flowchart is resting on a ticking time bomb known as depression, or what I call the plummeting patch. Patch. Said word brings on happy moments from my childhood. Patches of grass at the park, Cabbage Patch Kid dolls I used to boss around, the cool patches my mom would impose on my jean jacket. All innocent, joyful moments. Sadly, though, around my late teens, I began really hating the word, specifically when I was told that my depression was a rough patch. But with each new depressional moment, I quickly learned this patch was more of an invasion. See, a rough patch is when the pollen infuses the air, setting off the allergic motions of your eyes tearing up and your mascara running. A rough patch is when your hair doesn't cooperate for a few days because of humidity, perhaps expired hair product. A rough patch is when, for at least 3 days in a row, the Bloody 7 train takes its sweet-ass time getting you to work all during performance review time. These aforementioned moments, while tricky, don't compare at all to the plummeting patch. That moment when you're on a soothing cloud, the wind tickling your face, and your heart is at complete peace. When you can smile effortlessly, get out of bed easily, and that inner voice that crushes you has some form of emotional laryngitis. When you look in the mirror and unconditionally love the girl staring back at you. Then all of a sudden, it hits you, like a rock adorned with shrapnel. The left part of your chest, right above your heart, soaringly sinks into a place of despair. When your anxiety infects that very heart that seconds ago was high, hopeful, happy. When your limbs start to feel numb, your head becomes inexplicably heavy, and smiling feels like the impossibility of the century. The idea of getting out of bed, the very thought of moving your once motivated limbs to leave your comforting, non-judgmental, silent bed paralyzes you. The unfeasibility of that notion makes the idea of taking a leisurely stroll on the moon rationally attainable. And everything that once existed in your mind, the reinforcements you would access to soothe this bout, the reminders that your life is pretty amazing, the assurance that you will survive this moment, that you have survived these moments, are all wiped from the forefront of your once cognitive, clear mind. It all becomes a foreign concept that is full of flawed, sloppy holes, one being that said memories are all lies. And the voice returns. You're a failure. You are worthless. You are nothing. That very paper with your wonderful life soon looks like a ransom note, a paper built on deception, intentional pain, and flawed reality. Depression has callously captured you. She gives no warning. Her parasitical tendencies have no mercy on all your senses and all your thoughts. She throws off your everyday life, tyrannically calling the shots. The bitch doesn't even give you an estimated time of departure. So becomes the waiting game. A cognitive labor pain, if you will. No offense to all the strong women that have given birth, but the general similarities exist. It's a moment where you just have to breathe and survive the excruciating pain. A moment where you just gotta know there is an end in sight. That even if you're being ripped apart inside, that you have to try and know that this will be over soon. Over. See, that's a difference between labor and depression. Scientifically, we all know that labor will end, that a baby has to come out. It would all be finished once you hold that newborn in your arms and all is okay once again. With depression, you have to trust that there is a conclusion of this plummeting patch, but it's never actually over. It inevitably happens again and again, and it's not like you have any say. Depression takes the right of choice from your grasp. Even still, though, once you have plummeted and rock bottom has engulfed you, there is only one place to go: up. Up can mean brushing your teeth, opening a window. Up can mean getting out of bed, showering, putting on earrings. Up can mean going to work, taking a deep breath of fresh air. Up can mean finally crying, because even the relief of crying when you are collapsed is a daunting capability that doesn't exist. These very moments help rebuild your memory bank, your confidence level. Each example serving as a reassuring reflection you refer to as you climb out of the front lines. And then a new voice. You will be okay. You can do this, 1 second at a time. Breathe and just be. All you have to do is just be. Then before you know it, you feel that wind on your face again and your heart can finally rest. You're sitting on your knees on that cloud once more, eyes closed and grateful that you existed and endured. That your life on paper holds true, even more so than before. For now you can add to it and proudly proclaim that you are a survivor of depression. Thank you.
Liz Colts is from upstate New York and has worked for the New York State DMV for the past 10 years. She and her husband Josh have 2 girls, Addison 5 and Delaney 3. Immediately following the birth of her first daughter, she suffered from postpartum depression that lasted for 4 years. Liz has changed from keeping her struggles with mental illness a shameful secret to openly discussing it with her family, friends, and coworkers. And now she's going to share it with all of us with a piece called Random Day.
Random day. Random day in 2013. Is that the alarm? I swear I just closed my eyes. How can I have to deal with another day again? I fall back to sleep and my husband nudges me awake. I take a deep, shaky breath and force one foot to the floor, then the other foot, and I stumble down the stairs. It's my job to get the girls dressed and fed. I shuffle around with my eyes barely open in some sort of suspended sleep, denial that I really have an entire day ahead of me. I use the least amount of effort possible to get the girls dressed and breakfast made. I close my eyes and sleep while I give my youngest a bottle. My husband comes out of the shower and catches me sleeping. He goes to get dressed. The girls need me. Why do they always need me? Why can't they just leave me alone? And how freaking long does it take for him to get dressed? My husband reappears. Kisses and mommy loves you. I'm such a liar. I close myself into the bathroom. Being a mom is over for the next 10 hours. I stand in the shower for at least 5 minutes, letting the water run over my face. I finish showering and turn off the water. I can't step out of the tub. My legs weigh at least 1,000 pounds. After a solid minute of breathing and convincing, I lift one foot out, then the other. I manage to put on makeup, only because it makes me look somewhat alive, but the hair stays wet. I get dressed and leave. I don't remember my drive to work. That's muscle memory or something, right? I park and sit in my car. I can't go in there. I can't do this again. Somehow, I get out of my car. I turn on my computer and look at the 15 emails I got since yesterday. 15 on top of the hundreds I still need to deal with. I freeze. I'm crawling out of my skin. I breathe shallow and fast and use every ounce of energy just to sit still and look normal. Why did they put me in charge of this? I can't do this. My entire career is riding on this. I can't. I'm not who they think I am. I stare. A minute, an hour, I'm not sure. I have a meeting in 10 minutes. What am I going to say? They will all be looking to me. I'm the one who's supposed to have the plan, but I don't have a fucking plan. I can't do this. Fake smile time. Okay, force it. There it is. I say things, I hear things, I write things down, but nothing registers. Going through the motions all day long. I need to go home. I can't stay here. My skin is crawling. I'm freaking out. I can't go home. I went home yesterday. It's time to leave. I drive home, wide-eyed and crazed, What if I turn the wheel and smash into that wall? I'll die. White-knuckled, I pull up in front of daycare. I hate this time. I dread this time. I have to deal with them all alone for an hour and a half. They will want me and need me, and I can't help them. I just can't. I don't want to play. I don't want to snuggle. I can't take care of them. My husband is home. We eat dinner. I wash dishes. I don't have to parent or think or feel if I wash dishes. Is there really still 45 minutes until they go to bed? I sit. I try not to fall asleep. I pretend I want to play with them or listen to them. Thank God it's my husband's turn to put them to bed. Good night, Mommy loves you. I'm lying again. My husband comes back out. I sit for 10 minutes or so, looking at my phone, dazed. I'm going to bed. I'm exhausted. It's 7:45. I live for the moment when I can lie down and pull the covers over my head. I hurt. Every inch of my body hurts, and I am exhausted from living. I close my eyes and fantasize about how wonderful it would be to die or run away, and I fall asleep. Random day in 2015. I am happy. I don't spend my days lying or counting down the hours until bedtime. I'm thriving. I snuggle. I smile when the girls run to me after daycare. Mommy loves you, and I'm not a liar. It gets better. Ask for help. Let yourself heal and hold on. You can do this.
Camila Holtz is much more than her illness. She is a daughter, sister, godmother, and a friend. She is currently a graduate student at Lesley University studying expressive arts therapy. She hopes to use her story and the creative arts to bring help and healing to others one day soon. She dislikes Velcro, but loves the color purple and cooking for family and friends. She's 32 flavors and then some. Camila, the stage is yours.
In the extreme highs and debilitating lows I've experienced through my illness, I always had one trusty, handy coping skill by my side, something to balance me out and make me feel better, at least temporarily. This poem is a celebration of my victory over self-harm. My thoughts are far from perfect, but the blade no longer has the power. It no longer has a place in my life. This is Rock This Testimony.
I'm gonna rock out with my scars out. I'm gonna rock out with this shame gone, with my past off my back, with my hands lifted high to the sky, to my God, to my love. Send my past up above, farther than the east is from the west. Got that pain off my chest. I am blessed. Don't get it twisted. I won't take back what's been lifted. It's not my cross to bear, but it is mine to share. I said it is mine to share. I share my pain with you, my life with you, God's truth, my freedom, my heart with you. I'm gonna rock out with my scars out, stomp on my pride. I'm gonna rock out with this new life. I'm gonna rock this testimony. I've got a testimony. I get tested every day. My testimony, he died for me. Let me share this with you. Stomp on my pride. Let me share this with you. I am a testimony.
Emily Grossman is a doctoral student at Rutgers University, where she is studying psychiatric rehabilitation. She also works as a recovery specialist and trainer for the Center for Practice Innovations at Columbia Psychiatry. She is a blogger for Huffington Post and speaks frequently to a variety of different audiences about her recovery. In 2006, Emily graduated from Columbia University with a master's in education. She has a bachelor's in English from Rutgers University. While Emily brings years of experience as an advocate and coach to her work, more importantly, she also brings her heart. Emily is going to read a letter to her 17-year-old self.
I just want to say this piece is dedicated to my mother and father, Nina and Rich Grossman. I love you guys. Dear 17-year-old Emily, remember when you read the Scarlet Letter in Mrs. Collins' class? You were so struck by Nathaniel Hawthorne's protagonist, Hester Prynne, who commits adultery and is forced to wear a scarlet letter A for affair and adultery on her dress as a sign of shame. How unfair it seemed that she became a pariah in her community. I know that high school has not been easy on you, although your peers would never know it because you are a great actress. I know that when you go home, you cry a lot. I also know that many days depression and anxiety get the better of you, and that you've begun having suicidal thoughts. I know it interferes with your academics, your relationships, and your life, but this is not your fault. While you've never been in Hester Prynne's position directly, soon you will live in her world in another way. You will be a person diagnosed with a mental illness known as bipolar disorder. As a freshman at Emory University in Atlanta, you will initially feel like you have the world at your feet. You will have created a great support network of friends, become involved in several activities, and even gotten straight A's. However, seemingly out of nowhere, mental illness will suddenly consume your life. And while your peers won't make you wear a big B for bipolar on your clothing, you will feel it is obvious to them that something is wrong. You will try to convince yourself that this is all in your head, as you will not tell anyone about your disorder. But fast forward 1 year, and you will see the direct correlation between Hester's Scarlet A and your Scarlet B. You will have to go home and begin college again, this time as a freshman at Rutgers. You will decide to be open about bipolar with the people you meet in school, and while some will be very supportive, the Scarlet B will be easy to spot, and many will choose not to be friends with you because of your mental illness. It will not be easy for you to accept this, but please be kind to yourself. Bipolar disorder is not a personality flaw. You are not damaged goods, as you will think in the beginning. And thinking this way will lead you to destructive behaviors and also will cause you to get involved in an emotionally abusive relationship. Yet your self-worth has nothing to do with the fact that the chemistry in your brain is not balanced during this time in your life. You are beautiful on the inside, strong, and a truly kind and loving person. These are all things that faulty brain chemistry cannot change. Still, the process to get you to recovery is going to be long and very difficult. It will take nearly a decade. You will know the horrors of the psychiatric hospital 13 times. Be picked up by police who won't treat you nicely or fairly. Be both injected with medications and kept in the hospital against your will. In your quest to find treatment, you will also talk to therapists and doctors who are not invested in your care, who are looking to make a quick buck, and who don't believe in your ability to get better. Please don't be deterred by this. You will eventually find the treatment you need. Ultimately, it is through your own people skills and advocacy skills that you will get better. These skills will first help you to avoid Trenton State Psychiatric Hospital. Then they will help you find Sherry, the therapist who saves your life and helps you to find yourself again in the wake of the tempest that is bipolar. Your mom's prophecy that one day you are going to help so many people because of this struggle
is dead right. Because of your experience, you will realize that people with mental illness are some of the most marginalized and stigmatized people in our society. You will notice how many choose silence about their illness due to the same scarlet letter that you have been forced to wear. This will spur you on to find your life mission, which is to heal other people with your story. You will help others in this way, first with your life coaching practice, and then by working at a prominent hospital in New York City, training mental health professionals on recovery. You will do this all in the hopes that ignorance about mental illness will give way to the understanding that not only do many of us get better, but in many cases, our journey helps us to become the very best versions of ourselves. So, the most important piece of advice that I can give you now at 17 is to not forget to be authentically you and to embrace all parts of yourself, even the messy parts that you perceive as flawed. One day, they will be your biggest assets and the very qualities that will help you to remove that scarlet bee from your chest once and for all. Love, Emily.
Jenna Murata is a writer in Brooklyn. Her work has been published by the websites of Esquire, New York, Playboy, the New York Times Magazine, and T, the New York Times Style Magazine. Here she is reading an excerpt from an article that ran on Marie Claire's website.
Thank you. Judging by my actions, I have never had as much contempt for anything as my own face. A conventionally attractive face with a Roman nose and a cleft chin and an infinitesimal birthmark under one eye, although honestly, I always forget which one. I've attacked my face with probably a dozen objects that are either sharp or hard at one end. Tweezers, an extruder, an earring post, an unspooled paper clip, a nail file, lotion caps, a push pin, a toothbrush handle, and nail clippers. Also, rubbing alcohol and hydrogen peroxide poured directly onto my defenseless skin. Here's what propels this behavior from destructive to downright self-sabotage. As a freelance writer, I make my living interviewing celebrities, often face-to-face. I'll chat with the most beautiful people in the world and then rush home to sit on my bathroom sink and pick at my face. Not because talking to famous people hurts my self-esteem. Each outing, I take pride in representing the publication I'm writing for. The urge to self-injure just always pulses through my head and my hands. It's my go-to method of procrastination when I have a deadline. I've always been very self-aware. Even during the prior decade I spent as a binge eater. When I was 21, after graduating college, I returned to my parents' house in suburban Illinois for what I assumed would be a short visit. It lasted 4 years. I spent every second furious with myself. You squandered $100,000 on your education only to wind up unemployed. You're waiting for some guy to bail you out of your malaise. My family was unable to ignore my binging, mostly because I'd limited my vocabulary to 3 phrases. Don't let me eat anything I'll regret. I can eat whatever I want, and I can't believe I ate that. Anytime someone in our home purchased a pint of ice cream, it was assumed that I would pick out all the good parts in the middle of the night. I knew what my problem was. Whenever I was bored, I went to the kitchen. So I decided to find a new place to spend my ample downtime. My parents' bathroom is bigger than any room I'll likely rent in New York City. There's a shower and a jacuzzi, a walk-in closet, a separate room with a commode, but the sun around which everything seems to revolve is my mother's stainless steel 10 times magnifying mirror. In front of the mirror was a shabby chic bench, painted white and upholstered in a fabric fit for a Beatrix Potter book. To the right of the mirror, my mom kept a miniature glass vase filled with sanitizer and Tweezerman tweezers in various sizes and pastel hues. I remember the first time I saw my eyebrows in my mom's mirror. They looked downright manly, with grubby hairs several centimeters in the wrong direction. I plucked every last stray, feeling immediate satisfaction, like a grown woman who'd finally learned to take care of herself. Yet when I glanced in the mirror the next day, there were new hairs that I'd seemingly missed. I started looking at my eyebrows in the mirror multiple times per day, plucking the delicate skin above my eyes until it was red and raw. Soon, instead of spending 5-minute increments in front of the mirror, I'd descend into the mirror for up to 4 hours a day. It was a suspended reality where only what I could see mattered. My tweezers wandered from my eyebrows, and I would nick and squeeze and yank at every clogged pore on my face. At one point, I became convinced that there was a lone dark hair trapped under my chin. I could think of nothing more vital than removing this growth from my face. In the process of freeing the probably imagined hair, I dug an 1/8-inch deep hole. I decided it was healthy to have my wound out to the open. At least I wasn't secretly hoarding food. My parents were horrified, but my mother would not get rid of the mirror. It's mine. I needed to see. I saw a battalion of dermatologists and inquired about a plastic surgeon, but all agreed that my problem was psychosomatic, dermatillomania. At one point, I threw my mom's pair of mint tweezers into a lagoon. Finally, I checked myself into a 3-week outpatient program for depression and anxiety, eager to stop hurting myself. One of the tenets of the program was no war stories. You couldn't share specific details or personal anecdotes from your life that could prove triggering to another person. So I never got to talk about how I hurt myself and how much I liked it. Most people ease back into their day-to-day routine following a psychiatric hospitalization. Instead, I relocated across the country days later, back to New York, content that I had proved to everyone that I was ready to tackle any obstacle. I asked a Manhattan editor for work, and she suggested party reporting. Party reporting, otherwise known as red carpet reporting, is standing with a scrum of reporters in a roped-off area, clamoring to talk to the same celebrities and outdo each other with soundbite exclusives. The thought of party reporting was exciting, but on the day of the gig, I was usually dejected and nearly nauseous, sure I'd mess up or let my editor down. My skin initially improved when I returned to New York because I left the magnifying mirror with my mom. And now I was also very busy, though in a high-anxiety cycle of interviewing and transcribing. But slowly, the bathroom mirror began to beckon. Because it wasn't magnifying, I would perch on top of the toilet tank to get as close as possible. I would tweeze and squeeze, filling my garbage can with tissues dotted with bloody Morse code. I began avoiding my roommate and retreating to my room lest I be confronted about my bathroom habits. Occasionally, I would pick at my skin and then immediately binge on junk food, which made me so angry I'd go right back to the mirror. On a terrible day in November, I was supposed to interview Steve Carell at a screening of his new film, Foxcatcher. I have a background in comedy and lots of Second City friends, and I was ecstatic to meet the 40-year-old virgin. Yet I was terrified that I'd choke, letting down my comedy friends and my editor, embarrassing myself before a man I admired. As days seeped into night, I could not stop pressing down on a cyst on my chin. Blood spattered on the sink drain as I mutilated myself, panicking in the process that the wound wouldn't cauterize in time for me to apply makeup for the interview. About 45 minutes before I had to be in uptown Manhattan, I scrubbed the blood off the sink, put on a floral Kate Spade dress, and called an Uber. When I interviewed Carell, I probably seemed poised, but I felt like a fraud. Could he see through me? Could he see through my makeup to the throbbing pain and the throbbing physical and emotional pain? In 2015, I stopped hurting my face, mostly by accident. I went on my first work trip, reporting from the Sundance Film Festival, and I neglected to pack tweezers. For 10 days, I worked harder than I ever had in my life, and I barely had time to look in a mirror. 2 weeks after Sundance, I turned 27. My whole life, my mom had whispered to me about the mythical age of 28, when suddenly you realize what you want in the world, her version of Saturn's return. The one thing I know already is that I want to be nice to myself. No one is going to love the person who is literally tearing themselves apart, and no one tearing themselves apart is fit to contemplate marriage and motherhood. Recently, I interviewed actress and poet Amber Tamblyn from Marie Claire. While doing research, I found this quote of hers in Bust. Instead of acting out in physical violence, young women go inward and harm themselves. For several months, I have been free from self-injury. Although I have not actively resumed binging, I have gained some weight. That Kate Spade dress no longer fits. But now, regardless of if I'm wearing makeup, I have the strength to look people in the eye. As small as a pair of tweezers may seem, they were my weapon, my 9mm, my machete. I used to blame my self-injury on frayed nerves, but maybe I was just angry. Angry at myself for not being perfect, even though no one is. Angry at myself for not being as beautiful without makeup on. Angry at myself because I sweat the small stuff. When I turn 28, I'm going to try my best to let go. And when I can't, I won't be taking it out on my face. My skin has never done anything but hold me together.
Joseph Fasaro grew up in Valhalla, New York, and has been writing music and poetry since he was 14. He credits it with helping him dig his way out of a serious bout with anxiety, depression, and bipolar in his late teens and 20s. He looks forward to using his experience with mental illness to help others that are now in a similar position realize there is hope for a positive and productive future. Joe's going to read his aptly named poem, This Is My Brave.
Another thought. It is 4 a.m. How many hours left until I have to make myself face a day again? I think about yesterday. I think about tomorrow. I think about the future. All I think about is sorrow. So I'll wish for a little luck, for a love that shares my trust, for a key to let me in. There is no end. When will this end? You are not my friend. You are in my head, and you're my only friend. So I shatter into glass. I'm such a mess. I can never rest. All my dreams end abruptly, and I wake up in a pool of stress. I will not ever hate. I will be gracious. I want to live. I want to see. I need to feel. I need to taste. It is a real disease, and it is of my brain. Shh, I can make it back. It is not too late. I'm resilient and determined. Just wait. I will love again. Someone will know my name. Breathe. It is okay. We are all just a person. We all feel just the same. I need to dissipate this negativity. I cannot wake up in fear of the rain. I am thinking way too fast again. Thank God. That was the answer I think I once sought, but I really have to say I could do without all this thought. Just write it out. Just write straight up from negative to positive, and do not ever stop. The opposite of what you did to bury yourself under this rock. I hope I can be a better friend. I wish I could trust myself again. I hope this first good day never ends. I pray for silence in the bed I lay. I wish one person would understand me. I have trust in us all that we will get up after this fall, and that you too feel the same. I pray every night with the space for our names. I know that with each day, we will add another to the brave. Thank you.
Katie Mack is a Detroit native and is excited to be sharing the stage with these unbelievably brave performers. Holding true to the belief that we all have something unique to offer, she will share with you a story that highlights the potential benefits to being someone who struggles with being crazy. Katie is going to share her original piece, I'm Crazy.
So I'm on date number 8 with this boy, and I'm at a diner in the middle of the day. I get a turkey burger and sweet potato fries because even though my preference is a classic Greek salad, no feta, no dressing, no grape leaves, and the dressing on the side, I'm trying to seem cool. The waitress puts the food down and I calculate the potential number of calories. I'll take 4 bites and 15 fries, about 300 calories. Cool. Other cool tactics include being exuberant about the movie Top Gun, knowing lines to The Big Lebowski, drinking beer, watching sports, and not being jealous. So, I asked him, what was your last girlfriend like? Oh man, she was batshit crazy. Oh. Now, when you fill out the personal and overly specific questions on OkCupid, you get to answer things like, I can't wait to have babies, A, in 10 years to never, B, as soon as I get a promotion, or C, what are we waiting for? Let's have them now. But for some odd reason, there's never the question, are you bipolar or suffering from depression or any other mental illness? Because obviously, a yes would take you right off the market. I mean, like, I've literally never had anyone say to me, you know, she's like smoking hot and she's really smart, but I don't know, she's just like not manic enough, you know? I mean, like, let's face it, no one seeks a partner with an illness. Like, I'm pretty sure I can guarantee that no one came here today in hopes to find their lifelong partner. We go on a walk, and he kisses me. And in this moment, I'm actually grateful for the way that I am. See, the difference between someone who is normal and me is that although I am bipolar with manic depression coupled with some ADD and a sprinkling of OCD tendencies, who happens to be a recovering addict, and on my low days, I can be mistaken for a sobbing, apocalyptic zombie. My high days are incredible. No one has highs like me. And I say no one because at the farthest end of my mania, I have a tendency to be a little delusional. But, like I said, my highs are amazing. And he kisses me, and I promise you, I floated. I promise you this, and you can't tell me otherwise because one, you aren't there, and two, if you're normal, you've never floated. You're just a normal human being with healthy, average range of emotions. See, he kisses me, and we put the Notebook makeout scene to shame. But no, this is not our first kiss. No, of course not. He came home with me the first night I met him. And for the next 2 years, we will kiss, and I will float. Except on the days when I'm too busy crying, and I scream at him, and I push him really hard. And he says that he needs space, which I understand because I'm crazy. But that's not now. Now, we kiss, and then we mumble goodbye. And then 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps. It's kind of like a sneeze. You know when it's coming. It can be thwarted if caught early, but that takes practice, and I can feel myself start to slip. See, I refused to take medication after feeling like a bobblehead for a year on Seroquel, Lamictal, and Topamax. But now I have decided to give DBT, dialectic behavioral therapy, a shot, which I hate. Because I'm positive that all my therapists are idiots, and I know better, and group. I hate everybody in group because they are all better at answering the DBT workbook questions than I am. I notice myself clenching my fist around my phone, and if I throw this phone, it'll be the 3rd phone I've minced in 5 months. I go to throw my phone, but wait! My annoyingly helpful DBT skills are put into play. I stop, S-T-O-P-P-S, stop. T, take a deep breath. O, observe what I'm feeling. I am feeling inexplicably lonely. P, put things in perspective. I don't know why I'm feeling like this. Why can't I just be normal? P, practice putting the phone down. And remember that sometimes all you need is a classic distraction. So I go to cat videos. I YouTube kittens climbing and tumbling down the stairs, kittens and puppies meeting for the first time, puppies dressed as kittens, kittens being given as gifts, gifts from their loved ones, and then my disease reminds me that no one will ever love me enough to get me a kitten. And so I throw my phone, and it shatters. And all right, now I know that throwing my phone was not a good practice, and I'll have to remember to write that down in my DBT workbook. I start to sob, and literally no one is paying attention to me, officially making New York City the rudest city in the world and the best city to be bipolar in. I try to shock my body out of this feeling. Instead of self-harm, I drop down and immediately start doing push-ups. And some jerk starts counting down from 100. I lift my head up to yell something, and it's him, the boy from the diner. He laughs. And so I start laughing. I have mascara running down my face, and I'm doing push-up next to a pile of dog or horse poop. He notices my phone on the ground, and he goes to pick me and it up. "What happened?" he says. I nod my head. I don't know what to say. He's gonna see through me. He's gonna see how messed up I am. He laughs again. And he pulls me into his arms. And he kisses me. And I float. Thank you.
Monique Lewis is founder of At the Inkwell, a New York City-based supporter of published writers through featured articles, book reviews, and a reading series in San Francisco and New York. Her writing has been featured in Fuse Society. She's an editor for Merger Market, a global online financial news service. Monique just moved to Denver, but she felt so strongly about this show that she is here tonight to read her piece. I'm listening now.
My dad only contacts me on my birthday. It is usually a text that says, "Hey big girl, happy birthday," sometimes the timestamp of when I was born, and I'll always be his baby. The first time he did this, I didn't respond, nor the second time, and not the third time. The fourth year, I replied, "Thank you." I had wanted to wish him Happy Father's Day just 2 weeks before, but I didn't know what those words would mean today. "Why did you leave?" I finally asked when I decided to call him after he sent the annual birthday text in 2012. He shrugged it off and said he'd tell me someday. Growing up, I was used to my dad disappearing for weeks at a time. He would leave all of his personal belongings behind. Even his immediate family wouldn't know where he was. Those weeks turned to months, months turned to years. I used to count the days he would be gone. The older I got, the longer he stayed away. My parents fought, and I was ashamed to tell friends at school whenever they asked me where my dad was. Each time he came back, my two brothers and I welcomed him as if he'd been away on a business trip. We played this game for 12 years, even after my parents remarried each other. The last time I saw my father, it was the 4th of July weekend in 2008, when I was visiting home in Denver, Colorado. I snapped pictures of my parents smiling. We had lunch before they dropped me off at the airport to catch a flight back to New York, and my father said he was proud of my accomplishments. I didn't catch the deep sadness in his eyes until staring back at that picture years later. When my parents returned from a cruise in December of the same year, my mom said my dad kissed her on the cheek and said goodbye before he left for work in the morning. He never came back. I went through periods of uncontrollable crying. At times, I blamed my mom for repeatedly taking him back. I blamed her for the pain. I blamed him too. "We don't throw people away," my mom explained. But I did throw my father away. I hid all pictures of him in my apartment. I didn't understand him. I didn't know how to understand him until my mom began to share more of his history. A secret pain my father never exposed to me and my brothers, although it was right in front of us. He loved to tell stories and joke around with us 1 minute, but it didn't take much to set him off in a fit of rage. My father once told my mother about a panic attack that was so severe he went to the hospital. They wanted to commit him and he ran. Bipolar disorder is characterized by the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders as bouts of manic and depressive episodes. I was 30 years old when my mom told me my dad was bipolar. I was both shocked and, for the first time, sorry for him. I wanted to call him, but what would I say? How could I talk to him about a mental illness he never spoke of? Why did he hide it for so long? Why wasn't I told sooner? I replayed a series of events in my head. Each time that I acted out or gave my dad grief, did it send him into one of those episodes? Even at 30, I wondered like a small child if his disappearances were my fault, my mom's fault, or my brother's. The next time he texted on my birthday, I wanted to get him to talk about it. I wanted him to seek help I knew he wasn't getting. Perhaps everything could have been different over the years. But how do you tell a parent they need help? How do you convey this without hurting their feelings or making them shut down? I was more than 3,000 miles away and hadn't seen him in 4 years. "Why did you leave?" I asked. A long sigh passed over the phone from his end. "I knew you would be the one to ask me that," he said. "Someday," my father said. Nearly 4 more years have gone by, and I'm still waiting for someday, but not for the reasons I used to. I'm waiting for my father to feel like smiling again, to feel confident, to know his family still loves him, to know for himself that he is lovable. This past March, I wished my father happy birthday for the first time since he left in 2008. He was ecstatic and said he receives updates about me from relatives on Facebook. He must know I'm moving home to Colorado soon. I still haven't told him yet. When we meet, will we talk about the painful truth, or will we still be holding on to someday? I can't control my father's decisions for his health, but I can still love him. I imagine sitting with him at lunch like the last time we saw each other and showing him that his daughter still loves him very much. Sometimes that support is enough to steer a person in the right direction. Thank you.
Tom Christensen originally hails from Virginia, but now calls Queens home. After years of battling depression, anxiety, and other common symptoms associated with mental illness, he was finally diagnosed with and treated for borderline personality disorder. Since then, it's been his mission to speak openly about mental illness in an effort to erase the stigma surrounding it and inspire others to seek help. Tom will be reading his piece titled, Dear Brain.
Dear Brain, we've known each other for quite some time now, I guess you could say before either of us can remember. In any case, the friendship we shared has been filled with many ups and downs. My youth wasn't the best when it came to your development. We grew up in an environment ruled by a patriarch with a big heart but a short temper. Our actions were often misunderstood. We were the sensitive black sheep in a family that solved most problems with the suggestion to suck it up. Though all of that's behind us now, the damage had an everlasting effect. Depression and anxiety crept their way into us at a young age, and we didn't quite understand it. Then one day we saw a commercial for Zoloft. We felt oddly connected to that cute little blob whimpering underneath a rain cloud. We tried to seek help, but were told we weren't depressed, we were merely growing up, so we continued to suck it up and pretend that everything was okay. In high school, we turned to food for comfort. In college, food gave way to alcohol. The relationships we kept during these years were tumultuous at best. The slightest slight would make us snap. Inside us lived a beast that we couldn't quite quell once released. Our friendships were tested by uncontrollable and unexplainable emotional outbursts. It also so happened we preferred the brains of other boys. We struggled to find our identity as our depression ebbed and flowed against our anxiety and anger. We did what we could to survive. Flash forward to a post-college brain, a brain filled with maturity needed to start life as an independent adult. We made decisions to guarantee a happy existence. We told the world that we had a preference for male brains. We got a decent job. We moved to a city we loved. We were even able to afford it, kind of. On paper, things looked great. So why did things go downhill again? Why did we hit a breaking point? Why couldn't we control that beast inside us? Why did life become so unbearable? We sought help. At first, we were ashamed to start taking the pills, but we recognized that there was little else we could do. Things seemed to get better from there. We got a new job that we really liked in a new apartment. We met a lot of new friends. Things felt great, so we stopped taking the pills because we didn't think we needed them. Not long after, the depression, the anxiety, the acute feelings, the beast all came back. We should have known better, brain. We started meeting weekly with a therapist who tried to guide us towards a healthier way of thinking. We saw a new doctor who gave us new pills. They kind of worked, but didn't quite do the trick. So we saw yet another doctor who gave us other pills. Again, they sort of worked, but not really. So we saw another doctor who had to wean us off all those pills so he could give us different ones. Prozac, Lexapro, Wellbutrin, Adderall, Cymbalta, these, our new best friends, tried so hard to help us. They just weren't enough. That's when the first spiral came. Suicide was our daily fantasy. Alcohol, our nightly escape. Each morning we woke up anticipating the moment we'd return to bed. the beast made regular appearances. We took a knife to the arm. We didn't draw blood that night, but we came to a conclusion. We needed more help. The next day, we found ourselves in the ER. With my cousin by our side, we checked ourselves into the psychiatric unit at NYU. We needed a place that offered safety and answers. One of the nurses told us to think of it as a spa. There were no massagers or hot tubs, but there was free cable and shampoo, and the food was actually pretty damn good. And there was progress. From NYU, we went to an outpatient program in NYP, spending our days in group therapy. We found immediate comfort in our fellow patients and the medical team assigned to help us figure each other out. Then came the second spiral brain, a weekend of rampant outbursts, tears, booze, and another knife to the arm, again, without blood. The next time we went to NYP, we told them everything. After all was revealed, we received a diagnosis: borderline personality disorder. It all made sense now. The depression, the anxiety, the substances, the impulsiveness, the intense emotions, the rage, the ability to hide it all. These were symptoms of a person living as borderline. We also learned, brain, that you're just built differently from other brains. The parts you use to control emotion are more active than the parts you use to control rational thought. A challenging upbringing combined with this specific wiring made us who we are. We finally understood one another. We stopped blaming ourselves and started to work to improve ourselves. We sought out a new therapist that specialized in the guidance we needed. We also got some different pills, ones that would help us stay in control. But even after all that, brain, even after all that, we experienced a third and final spiral. This time, when we took the knife, we made an incision. The sight of blood was a turning point. Our journey up until then taught us the importance of urgency and honesty, so we contacted our medical team immediately. We sought help right away, and we got help. Because, as we learned, you can't be saved if you're dead. My dear brain, we've come a long way, and we have a ways to go. But I am so glad to have been a part of this journey with you. I'm glad that I finally understand you, if not quite completely. So let's continue this journey, shall we? We might start to spiral again, but now we know how to deal with it, don't we? We've been hurt. We've hurt others. We've hurt ourselves. Though not everyone understands us, I don't think I could ever ask for a better cerebral partner. So thank you, brain. Thank you for what you are, and thank you for what you've taught me. Yours truly, Tom.
Kathleen Frazier is a Norman Mailer Fellow, member of the Actors Studio, and actress. Her essay on sleepwalking and psychology today led to publication of her intimate memoir, Sleepwalker, The Mysterious Makings and Recovery of a Somnambulist, which is available now, and an excerpt ran in the New York Post. Kathleen advocates to raise awareness of healthy sleep as a basic human right. 5% of the proceeds from her book, Sleepwalker, will be donated to Creative Alternatives of New York, a nonprofit using drama therapy to empower people who have endured trauma to rebuild their lives. Here's Kathleen reading an excerpt from Sleepwalker.
Thank you. I just want to also say that I'm going to have the books for sale outside after, if you are interested. And I love the idea of dedicating my reading. Thank you, Emily, for that idea. I dedicate it to both of my grandfathers who were alcoholics. I dedicate it to my maternal grandmother, who was schizophrenic. I dedicate it to my brother, who is schizophrenic. I dedicate it to my father, who lived a life with insomnia. I dedicate it to my mother, who had sleepwalking and sleep terrors. And I have recovered from sleepwalking and sleep terrors and post-traumatic stress disorder a day and a night at a time. I had become one of several boarders in a rambling flat on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. My landlords were middle-aged bohemians, writers, filmmakers. He was a philanderer. I'd played a Wild West saloon whore in a music video they'd made for a jazz saxophonist, which is how we became roommates. Their labyrinth halls led to disheveled rooms, some of which overlooked the Hudson with breathtaking views through windows left wide open in the unbearable summer heat. I was spending this particular night in the enormous living room to avoid the smell of paint drying in my rented postage stamp of a bedroom. Deep blue had been my color choice, having read it could calm the nerves. I turned on a reading lamp, and the sudden light sent a cockroach scampering across the hardwood floor beneath a huge, discarded pile of newspapers. How would I ever fall asleep now for fear of the disgusting creatures crawling over me at my most vulnerable? I banished the thought by picking up C.S. Lewis's The Screwtape Letters about a senior demon's counsel to his nephew on how to damn a man. I read a long time until my eyes felt heavy. I let them close, resting the devil's letters against the thump, thump, thump of my heart. Blood pulsed through my ears. As a kid, I'd listen to that dreadful sound for what seemed like hours as I'd try to fall asleep. Nicknamed Kitten by my family, I was a born scaredy cat, afraid of bedtime from the start. When I was quite small, I shared a room with my brother Danny, 2 years my senior. An impressionable Catholic school girl, it was easy to believe his goodnight stories. If we stepped off our beds, some creature would drag us under, the devil, or one of his helpers, rats, snakes, take your pick. I realized as I was about to drift off on the lumpy sofa that these were not the most soothing bedtime thoughts. Reaching to turn out the light, I changed my mind and left it on. I must have fallen asleep then. I don't know for how long. I came to in the middle of it, like waking inside a horror movie, silent scream and all, eyes wide open. I was standing at an open window, staring at the dizzying curve of Riverside Drive, 5 floors below. I'd stopped, somehow, poised, about to jump. My beating heart told me so. Sweat streamed down the sides of my face and between my breasts. I had grasped the window frame with both hands. My adrenaline was so high I could have lifted it off the wall. It was a big window, a portal from this world to the next. A solitary street lamp cast a pool of yellow light on the winding street, no cars. The air was thick. I was alone. Or was I? My mind raced, searching for the truth. I'd been fleeing something real. Oh my God, it had bitten me. I backed a step away from the window and swiped furiously at my bare arm as if I could swipe my terror away. That was it. Disgusting, dirty, a rat had bitten me, sinking its sharp teeth into my upper arm. It had been real. I remembered seeing it clearly, filthy and gray. I remembered the weight of it, tricking me awake with its tickling whiskers. I felt my arm for blood, but there was none. I stared long and hard, but my skin was smooth, unmarked. If only I could relax and think, master what was real. My nightgown, soaked in perspiration, clung to my skin. It was an all too familiar feeling. Stupid, stupid girl. I grabbed my hair and pulled it hard. I clutched my head and begged my mind to figure what had transpired. All of this happened in a flash, but not for me. I could not find my way back, search as I may. I must have run across the huge expanse of living room to escape some nightmarish rat that had bitten through my sleep. I could not catch my breath, standing there at that open window. No screen, black night, waiting, always waiting. And then it dawned on me. As surely as I had been convinced there had been a rat, minutes later I knew there had never been one at all. Then the shaking began.
like a dog shakes terror from her body. I cowered my way across the enormous room. I couldn't take my eyes off the window and backed up all the way to the tattered sofa in the corner where moments before I had been fast asleep. I sat on the edge of that raft of a couch and clung to my pillow for dear life. I trembled and cried for what felt like a long, long time. The apartment was still. The city street was quiet. It felt like I was the only person alive in the whole world. A breeze blew across the room and shivers climbed my spine despite the heat. I stared at the void beyond the open window. I squeezed my pillow even tighter as the reality of the situation hit me, really hit me. If I had fallen to my death while sound asleep, it would have been considered suicide. I was only sleepwalking. It was just a sleep terror. I whispered to no one there. I was a ticking bomb, set to explode at my most vulnerable, as I lay sleeping.
Danielle Fiorello lives in West Belmar, New Jersey with her fiancée Denise and pug Tilly Lorraine. She comes from a musical theater background and has been performing since the age of 10. Her deep passion for music has always kept hope alive in her heart, and she is thrilled to be sharing that passion in a platform so near and dear to her heart. Here's Danielle.
Thank you, Lorne. Can you guys see me? I feel like I'm really short. Before I go into this, I thought this would be appropriate because I'm experiencing extreme anxiety right now. And, this is what this is all about, is standing up here, right? Even in the midst of our anxiety attacks, voice shaking, ears ringing, teeth are numb, and doing it anyway. So, that being said, let's freaking do this. All right. It was the night before that day that would eventually lead me here to this moment. Everything was set, planned to the T, everything I would need to take me to my final resting place. I went to bed as usual, woke up early the next morning. My partner at the time was still sleeping. I got up early, and I wrote a note that said, "Went for a walk," and I gathered my things that would aid in taking me to the place where there would be no more pain, no more grief, no more anger, no more racing thoughts, no more depression, no more anxiety, no more noise. It was a beautiful day out. Clear skies, warm sun, warm breeze. I walked around the corner, down a side street, past the town's used car place that led to a path down a hill by the Delaware River, where I found a cave-like spot made by big fallen tree limbs. I prayed, and I said, "I'm sorry." I was calm, and I was ready. And as my eyes slowly closed, the last thing I saw was the beautiful blue sky and white puffy clouds. It was as if it was welcoming me. I don't remember anything after that. There was nothing. No light, no dark, nothing. In that time that I don't remember, I was in the ICU on life support in a medical-induced coma. The man from the used car place found me stumbling up the road. Then I collapsed. My heart had stopped, and I was unconscious. He called for an ambulance. 2.5 days had gone by in this coma, the doctors telling my mother to start making arrangements because I would most likely not make it through the rest of the day. Shortly after, I opened my eyes. For one tiny second, I did not know what was happening. Why couldn't I talk? Where was I? My mother was sitting at the end of my bed, and in the softest, gentlest voice I had ever heard her speak, she said, "Danielle, hi, honey. You're awake.
and called for the nurse. And then it hit me. Oh my gosh, I thought. It didn't work. And a rush of anger came over me. Yes, anger. I was so sure this would be it. Why was I still here? And I knew things from that moment on would be more of a fight. How was I going to bounce back from this? I spent 2 weeks on the psychiatric floor of the hospital and then was committed to the New Jersey State Psychiatric Hospital for another 2 weeks, all in an effort to keep me safe and alive. Now, 10 years later, here I stand before you, bearing my soul with the answer to the question, why am I still here? The answer is to help and inspire others with my own suffering in hopes that no one will ever have to go down that road, and to hopefully save a life. And I can only do so by being brave and being part of this very important conversation. My song that I wrote today is about a girl who looked in the mirror for so long and hated what she saw, but she fought the darkness and never gave up no matter what. And she has began to live life and open her heart to love. She was able to look in the mirror and finally be proud of the person looking back at her. Life may be hard at times, but difficult does not mean impossible. And now today, I also stand before you more than happy and grateful to be alive. Before I sing my song, I would just like to say one short thing. A few days ago, a friend of mine on Facebook lost a close friend of hers to suicide. His name was David, and I would like to play my song in loving memory of him. What you've become. Well, don't let it scare you, 'cause you're not yet done. Look in the mirror at where you came. Trials and tribulations got you ready for this one. The darkness comes and tries to hold you down, but you get right up so you won't drown. Take a chance and fight the fear of new. And in the end, you'll be nothing but the best parts of you.
you see. Well, you can always change it to whatever you want it to be. And looking in the mirror was the best thing I've done. Now I can be proud of the person I've become. And the darkness will come, and it'll try to hold you down, but you get right up so you won't drown. Take a chance and fight the fear of new, and in the end you'll be nothing but the best parts of you. Just by looking in the mirror.
Thank you.
Well, I am put in the unenviable position of following that beautiful performance by Danielle, but there are some people that we need to thank today. First off, I'd like to thank our audience for coming out today. Despite the predictions, the weather's gorgeous outside, and we appreciate that you spent your afternoon with us. Second, there wouldn't be This Is My Brave at all without Jennifer Marshall, the co-founder and executive producer of This Is My Brave. She led us, yes. She led us through our first show here in New York City and was an invaluable resource to the entire production crew. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Alkermes, Lundbeck, Wegmans, and the National At-Home Dad Network, as well as our media sponsor, New York City Dads Group. We also want to thank the donors to our silent auction, Hasbro, Dove Men Plus Care, Kitty, Smarty Pants, Britax, Waveborn, and the Gazillion Bubble Show at New World Stages, as well as Amy's Bread. Not to mention authors including Jim Gaffigan and Al Roker, who donated autographed copies of their books. Please be sure to get in your bids after the show. The auction will close a half hour after the show, after which we will announce the winners. Storytelling saves lives. Before working with This Is My Brave, I thought I knew what these words meant. For my entire life, I have believed in the transformative power of stories, particularly live theater and performance art. As an audience member, my worldview was shaped and altered by the words of writers like August Wilson, Larry Kramer, Stephen Sondheim, and very recently by the brilliant Lisa Cron and Lin-Manuel Miranda. With each of these stories, my mind was opened a little more, and I gained empathy. I had a better understanding of people who I thought were not like me, but in reality, we shared more in common than I could have imagined. When I heard the words, storytelling saves lives, I believed writers, composers, and performers could change lives through the stories they tell. And as a writer, that's a pretty gratifying idea. I aspired to be the kind of writer who inspires change. What I didn't imagine was how telling my story could save me. In I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, Maya Angelou writes, "There's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. It is a sentiment that is all too familiar for people who live with mental illness. For a father raising a child while simultaneously battling bipolar disorder, a mother with postpartum depression, heartbroken that she cannot love her child the way she always imagined, or someone looking for true love or a little romance, but fearing that no one could truly love them. Some of us might speak up. We will ask for help and find the words for our hidden pain.
Maybe we will share our stories, like the brave performers on the stage today. For others, however, it will remain unspoken. Every day, we hear the media demonize mental illness to suggest that if we are depressed, we are also dangerous, unhinged, or broken. We might feel guilty telling our family and friends, afraid that our loved ones will blame themselves. Once we say those words out loud, bipolar, post-traumatic stress, postpartum depression, it will be true. At this time, if you or someone you know is affected by mental illness, please stand. Look around you. Mental illness impacts us all. This is why I have so much love and respect for our cast. It takes nerve for an actor to get up on stage and play a character, but it takes true courage to get up on stage and be yourself. Storytelling saves lives because it gives people the chance to let go of that burden and to live. Thank you for letting us share our untold stories, and let's keep the conversation going.